and we got one of the best judges it's ever. He's probably 90 when he got the case. He was appointed by Nixon, and was still on the bench, and he wasn't having it, and he sided with us, and we got justice for each and every one of those Ghanaians that were being basically made to work in conditions that no one should be made to work.
Welcome to the How I Got Here podcast. I'm your host, Travis Waters, and I designed this podcast to share stories that are worth telling, whether it's about somebody going from zero to hero, hero to zero, or simply something in between. On today's episode, we talk to Ryan Robey, and we learn about how he started off very, very, very young with an interest in the legal system and how that blossomed to where he is today. Let's go ahead and hop into our conversation with him now. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to the How I Got Here podcast. I'm your host, Travis Waters, and on this episode, we are joined by Ryan Robey. Now, for those that may not know you by face or by name, let's do kind of a quick 10-second, very short, high-level overview of what you're up to right now in 2026.
Sure. My name's Ryan Robey. I'm from Kentucky, and I'm running STAICY.win.
All right, short and sweet enough. So how we like starting these off is tapping into the earliest possible memory that is stored up in that noggin of the first time in your life when you had a vast interest in something, or this is what I want to be when I grow up, and roughly what age were you when that kind of came to fruition?
Sure. I think I was six or seven, and I was wrongfully accused of it's like stealing a cookie or something. And basically, I wanted to hold a mini trial to prove my innocence. And that's whenever I realized I wanted to be a lawyer, right? And ever since then, the goal was always to be a lawyer, and took took a lot of interest in politics growing up. Kind of that path of political science to lawyer. I would be the nerd kid that would read the opinions when they came out. Went through college at UK law school and became a lawyer. And now finally get to live out a second dream of being involved in the gaming industry. So I love it.
So even back at age 6 or 7, you had the knowledge of at least a small level of the legal system, and you knew what a lawyer was and you knew what a lawyer did at that time.
I did. My uncle was a lawyer, so I knew a little bit from him. The one thing lawyers love to do is share war stories. Um, and he always told the best story. I don't even know if it's true, but down in Western Kentucky, there was a person on trial for their dog. In Kentucky, you can get a dog deemed vicious, and there was a trial to try to deem the dog vicious, and it bit somebody. And at trial, my uncle put a piece of raw meat in his pocket, and the dog came up and started licking his pocket and let him pet him on the head and everything. And everybody said, "Oh, look how cute the dog is." And that was his trick. And the jury found the dog not vicious, and he went on. And I always thought that was the coolest story. And so that's kind of when I said, "That sounds like fun. Let's do it."
Manipulating dogs in the legal room. So
Hey,
is
yeah.
there like a horror story at the end of that where it's like, hey, so the dog was deemed not vicious, but then it just destroyed like an entire family like 2 weeks later?
I have some good dog stories like that, but not that particular dog. I always asked him, I said, "What happened if the dog got really hungry and wanted to eat the piece of meat that was in your pocket?" He said, "Well, that's something I hadn't thought about." So, but
Yeah,
yeah, there's
that could have
there's
definitely
always good
backfired.
always good war stories. They could, yeah, raw meat and a dog that may or may not have attacked someone a week prior. What could have gone wrong?
Exactly. So it's so interesting at such a young age. Well, you did have that insight from a close family member to kind of understanding uh, that lawyers were a thing, the legal system was a thing, probably much earlier than I would say the average kid in the U.S. anyway, just because that's not something it's ingrained to us at that age from just basic education. So that's so funny as well as is like proving your innocence on all that stuff. So 6, 7, you have this first epiphany. You have people in your family who have done this professionally. And I know you kind of already jumped ahead a little bit and said that's what you went to school for and became. So let's just say from age 6 or 7 to high school, Was there anything else that kind of jumps into the, oh, I think I could also do this as a potential like career move, or was it always 100% I want to be part of the legal system?
I always wanted to be part of the legal system. There was a time when I was younger and dumber that I wanted to go into politics. I had some family that were in politics. I ended up working in Frankfurt for a little bit. I shadowed when I was in high school, so before college. Shadowed up there. I had some connections that kind of let me go see how things worked. And I decided I wanted to be president of the United States one day. And I remember at my high school graduation party, they had the big thing of here's what you've done, here's what you want to do. In middle school, I ran for whatever it is, student council, right? And so I ended up being, I think we called it commissioner general of the student council in eighth grade, right? And then in high school, class president. And I wanted to be, I remember at my high school graduation, still at 18, wanted to be president of the United States. And after I grew a little wiser, a little older, and saw how nasty it got, I decided that wasn't a good path for me. But politics and law kind of go hand in hand. And there'd be nothing more fun than getting to write laws and actually try to make the world a better place that way. But I decided my path would be in the courtrooms defending the laws that we do have.
So yeah, I understand that point of there's definitely an overlap between politics and the legal system. Now, I believe you were saying somewhere around late middle school, early high school is when the concept of maybe becoming president or just being part of politics kind of left because you saw how like, oh, that's not actually a department or an industry that I want to be part of based on what you're seeing. So are we kind of right now in the early high school time?
It would have been freshman year of college is when I
Okay.
decided I did not want to go into politics anymore.
So when you went to college, that was still was the politics, whether it was presidency or just in general, was that a peg higher than being a lawyer going into college before you changed your mind?
I knew that if I wanted to be successful in politics, I would need to be a successful lawyer. I guess now that's not true anymore. But in Kentucky at the time, everyone that I knew that was running the state were all lawyers, right? Um, Freshman year, and so I go in, pie in the sky, go to college, University of Kentucky, and I get a great job working in Frankfurt. Um, and I was in a very good position in Frankfurt, and there was a governor's race going on, and I was working in the office of the Senate president in Kentucky, and he was running for governor against our incumbent, Steve Bashir. We have Andy Bashir now; he's going to try to run for president. Steve Bashir was running as the Democrat, and David Williams was running as a Republican, and I saw them. Probably breaking news here. It's 20 years old though. I saw them have meetings and talk about what they were going to present to the public as their debate points. They would sit down, they'd go through it, and they'd figure out here's what we're going to tell the public we're fighting about. Here's my position. Here's your position. Let's not talk about this. Let's not talk about that. And that's where I started getting jaded on the whole thing because they would go out and they'd act like they hate each other, yell about how the other one's a terrible guy. And then they were going and having drinks in the office and discussing how tomorrow was going to go. And that's when I started getting jaded in the political field.
Now, when you first applied for college, what was that initial degree that you were seeking out? Like the name of it?
Pol- Political science.
Okay. And then so when you determined in the freshman year of college that, okay, this is not exactly the exact path I want to take, did that, did you shift majors or did you finish political science? Well, no, I'm not sure how that works. So yeah, let me stop rambling on here. When you had that change, what changed with your major?
Sure. So I stuck with it. I thought maybe that's not how all politics are. So I started lobbying. I worked with a lobbyist for a year, and actually my job in lobbying was trying to get slot machines into Churchill Downs. They really wanted slot machines. They wanted table games, but that wasn't going to happen in the Bible Belt part of Kentucky, right? So we were working really hard to get slot machines because they were losing revenue at Churchill. So because there's a casino boat right across the river. So I worked as a lobbyist, helping Churchill get gambling, right? Which they now have, and from that springboarded into actually running a congressional campaign as campaign manager for a guy in Louisville who was running against John Yarmouth, who actually is a great representative. This guy wanted to run against him, hired me to run his campaign. And so I actually got into trenches. And so, as a political science major at UK, junior, senior, professors would have me come in and give lectures to their 101 classes and 201 classes, telling them, hey, basically, I'm a student at UK. Here's what you can do with this, right? And showed them the inner workings of this is how campaigns are getting data and how they're using data. And this is how this is how the world actually works. Um, so I actually was lecturing as a student at UK. My guy just got destroyed in the election, but it was fun. You learn a lot. You learn a lot. But that was officially my last hurrah in politics. But I was able to graduate with a political science major, which goes straight into law school.
Okay, so political science, we kept this degree. We completed that. I believe political science is a 4 year degree, and then was it immediately okay? Even though I've already determined that politics is not my main focal point, stick with this degree, earn it, and then did you go like final day of graduation to earliest possible slot on taking all the education needed to become a lawyer?
Yeah. So to get into law school, you take something called the LSAT, LSAT.
Yeah.
Took that, hung over one morning. It's fine, passed it. Uh, Whatever you get a score, right? At that point, you know, it was it was UK would I was pretty confident UK'd let me into their law school. They had me lecture in their classes, right? So filled out the law school application. You graduate in May from college. You start law school in August, and I was actually supposed to get a double degree. Uh, it was supposed to be a master in public administration and a legal degree. UK had a 4 year program where you come out with both, and no one had done it apparently in like 15 years. And they set up the MPA school is actually really difficult to get into. The Martin School, I think is what it's called. And I went to day one of orientation. I'm ready to start, and they call me and they say, "We've looked at the schedule and we're not set up for this anymore. You start law school tomorrow." And I was supposed to start law school in a year, right? Supposed to do a year of MPA stuff and then 3 years of law school. They said, "You start law school tomorrow." Well, great. And so I showed up. I had not a single book. I had missed the week of orientation to law school. The fun part about law school is they use the Socratic method. And so when you go to class in law school, they say they don't ask you questions. They ask very open-ended questions, and they never tell you whether you're right or wrong. They answer everything with another question, right? And that's the whole law school thing. If you've ever watched any of these movies, it's accurate, right? Um, I was not on any of their list because I'd missed orientation. And so I went the entire first semester of law school, just no one knew who I was. I was just this white guy showing up to class, and no one ever called on me. And so that's how I started law school. And law school is a 3 year degree right after college, so it's 7 years straight through.
But if it was set up the way it was 15 years prior, as you were mentioning, it would have been a 4 year process because you had that first year of doing what was no longer something you had to do. So I guess, yeah, even though there's that like sweating bullets, like, holy crap, this actually starts tomorrow, and I wasn't planning to put my mind in this mindset for another year, I feel like, which I can only assume your thought process might have been, oh, I save a year of my life of sitting in classes. 100%. Yes. Yeah, let's start this sooner than later.
Let's roll.
I
Yes.
mean, that's what those kid genius prodigies do, where they know that their IQ is so high that they skip high school altogether and go straight to college. Like, why waste time? I already know all this stuff. Or why waste time if I can start in the future? I'm always curious about that. Now that I mentioned that, which is, I know, going off on a tangent here, but it's so interesting. Like, what if every kid had some sort of, not a standardized test because those exist, but a test to like every grade you take a test, and if your score is XYZ, you're automatically advanced to like a certain grade. So there's like 8 year olds finishing high school like more often because they are absorbing information at such a high rate, or their intelligence is so high that we can create more. I mean, the problem is that when there's workforces where you have to be like 16 years of age or older to be part of, and then you have all these like 8 year olds graduating high school. I don't know. I'm
Right.
curious what your thoughts are on that random subject that has popped into my
Oh,
head.
I love it. I love it. I'll sit here all day and talk creative subjects. I love it. So,
Yeah.
my thought on that would be, I think a lot of what school is socialization, right? Like a bunch of shit I learned. Am I allowed to cuss on here? I'll try not to.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot, a
As
lot of,
long
a
as
lot of
YouTube doesn't
stuff.
flag it.
A lot of stuff I learned. A lot of stuff I learned in school I don't use, right? And I have a degree. Um, I think school is a lot of socialization. You learn how to interact in society. You learn social norms. I joke all the time. It's a joke, everybody, but I do. Bullying is what gets society going, right? Sometimes you need to be shamed into acting right. Um, you know, we do probably have 8, 9, 10 year olds that could graduate high school because they're smart. I have two young children now, and they watch these videos and they learn from the videos. All this stuff that I didn't learn until I was in middle school, right? And they're 4 years old looking at it. I think the issue would be when you have the 10 year old around a bunch of kids in high school that are just getting their driver's license. They're seeing what vodka tastes like. I think that would be our issue, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 That's. I think there was a movie that came out in. I mean, I don't know what our age difference is, but there's a movie that came out in the late mid '90s, maybe early '90s, called Little Man Tate, and it was essentially that same thing where he was a kid prodigy and he went to college like at like 12 or something like that. But yeah, being introduced to things that you shouldn't be introduced to at a young age definitely will uh, put the nail in the coffin on that not being a norm in our education system moving
Frat
forward.
party hits a little
So
different. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we don't want 8 year olds, like you said. 8 year olds and vodka
Right.
don't really mix too well.
Right. Right. Right.
So getting back on the chronological train here,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
finished our 4 year degree in political science. We, through a weird system restructure, we skipped the first year of what we had planned to do, and we do a 3 year law degree, so a 7 year total of furthering education. At the end of the 7 years, because I know when you were talking about your time in college, you were essentially, teaching more or less
Yes.
on the political science side of things. So, in this 3 year degree for law school, were you actively doing things that furthered your legal career while you were still in law school? So were you kind of not necessarily teaching, but were you actively? I'm not sure how that works. 'Cause I haven't done law school, but do you have to do like, I want to say internships, but do you have to do some sort of practicing to get the stamp of approval on getting this degree? Does that question make sense?
No. No. And actually, your first year of law, talking like a med school residency sort of thing. Or did I lose connection here? My thing popped up and said I'm
Yeah, yeah.
unstable.
Well, no,
Am
no,
I
yeah,
good?
you froze there for a hot second, but no, we got the gist of what you're saying. You're talking about the it's like a first year of residency where it's
Yeah.
hands on. I guess is the best explanation for that.
So, so law school actually tries to prevent you from doing that. They say don't work. Put 100% of your time into law school. It was already too late for me. I had a very unique experience with my job. I started working for a completely quadriplegic attorney while I was in undergrad. Um, he had cerebral palsy and also a stroke. And so he is still a practicing lawyer, but I was his mouth and hands, so to speak.
So,
Um, he
man, that
passed away after I graduated. His brother, yeah. So we joked that his brother inherited me. His brother was a practicing lawyer in Lexington, and so when the guy I worked for in college passed away, I started working for his brother, who's a practicing lawyer, and I never left. He's still my law partner today. So I worked all through law school. So I was not as attentive as the law school people wanted me to be, but I wasn't going to give up my job. This guy's too good of a guy, and I enjoy what we do. So I stayed.
No, I got you. So yeah, that's interesting. So man, that's I feel like that's something that would be an interesting movie on that scenario of being his his arms and his legs on doing stuff like that and then learning from him as well. Um, so what is essentially once we finish this 3 year law degree and now we're done with that 7 year of furthering education, what's kind of that very first thing after that? Were you already set up on what you were going to do to like for a practice, or was it something where you had some time after finishing this 3 year stint of kind of shopping around or taking a break and how did the post law school thing work out for you?
Yeah. I was in with the lawyer I was working with. His name's Ed. I was in with Ed, and we worked really well together. Enjoyed each other's company, go out and have drinks and stuff. Great time, right? And when I was in law school, a very good case came to my doorstep. It was my wife's father, my father-in-law at the time was my girlfriend. His best friend's wife was the victim of medical malpractice. Um, Died for no reason after a surgery, and we went all in on the case, and we killed it. And that's when I decided I was staying with Ed. Within a year and a half, I became a named partner at the firm, um, and we've grown together. Ed's much more. Ed's about to retire, right? So I've learned a lot from him. He's nationally recognized lawyer. He's done it all, right? And it was too good of a situation for me to leave, and so really enjoy what I do. I could have left if I wanted to, but what we do is trial work. So a lot of lawyers anymore never see a courtroom. They never they're paper pushers. Not us. We're in court every single day. Um, in a courtroom, we have jury trials. You know, they say they don't exist anymore. They do. It's just not many people do them. And so the stuff you see on TVs, the stuff we get to do, it's a blast, and I wouldn't leave it for the world.
Now, a question I don't know if I said something I should have asked earlier or something I'm curious about now is now in 2026. I know that you have this other brain baby that you're working on that we'll get to in a second, but are you still currently, as of today, practicing?
Yes, managing partner of the firm.
So what to kind of make this chronological train more clear, what year did you become a named partner?
Let's see. I got to walk through it here. I graduated high school in 2007. I graduated college in 2011. Graduated law school in 2014. I became a lawyer in 2014. I became a named partner in 2000 and the end of 2015.
Okay, so we're about 11 years now, and still actively practicing as a named partner. Now, uh, my curiosity is I know I can only imagine the stuff that we see in TV, not in terms of like news, but like TV shows or movies and stuff, that there's so many things that, as somebody who's been practicing as long as you have, just like roll your eyes at, like that will never happen. That's a stupid
Yes.
scenario, or that's not how to approach this. But my first question about your time in the legal side of things, what if you, I don't know if this is early or mid or current in terms of all the different cases that you've been a part of, but what's the case that stands out to you the most that is something where the person that you were, I guess here's another question. I don't know the answer to this one, so I'll probably lead with this one first. Is are you essentially more on the defending side, the plaintiff side, or does it is it a toss up depending on what case is handed to you?
Sure. So in civil cases, we're for the plaintiff. the person that's injured that's suing someone. In criminal cases, we're for the defense. So someone that's accused of a crime being prosecuted, we defend them in criminal court. On the civil side, we're plaintiff work.
Okay, so on either side of those equations, what is the case that stands out the most that is something where the person that you are on the party for is has all of the cards stacked against them, and you know it's not like you're not proving innocence for somebody that you know like they probably committed this crime, but somebody that you know is like without a doubt 100% innocent, but because of their situation that they have all the cards stacked against them, and if you don't like hit dot all the I's and cross all the T's perfectly, that they're probably going to go either to jail for a very long time or they're going to get fined for millions of dollars they can't possibly afford in their lifetime. And not saying that you try harder on these cases than other cases, but something that you like kind of were like, we need to make sure that this person doesn't get screwed because all of the information in front of us, they're probably going to get screwed and we need to, keep them from uh, worst case scenario. Like, what's that one case that you're like, man, this person needs us more than anybody else has ever needed us. We need to go
Yeah,
hard on this, I guess.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it. On the criminal side, I got two answers. One, there was a guy that very unlikable guy. He would tell you he's unlikable, and because he was unlikable, got in a verbal altercation at a restaurant. One thing led to another. Two guys chirping at each other, and our guy pulled out a gun, right? And that was it. Pulled out a gun, put it back away, and left. They tried to they tried to give him life in prison, and they said they labeled it a hate crime. They flew in prosecutors from Oregon and DC to try the case. They have a 98 about 6 win rate in the federal system. And they were throwing the book at him. It was in that climate where, everyone was a little hypersensitive to things. And this guy, he's not likable, but he needed someone to stand in his corner. And it's unpopular to stand up and say he said nasty things and pulled a gun out, but we can't put this dude in prison for the rest of his life. Someone's got to stand up and do something, or he's going to prison for the rest of his life. They held him without bail for 4 months pending trial. Um, Walked him to trial, had a 3-day trial, and walked him out. Jury found him not guilty on all counts. That's probably the proudest moment representing someone in court. Not because I like him or because I like what he did, but it was actually the jury standing up for kind of what our country's built on, right? Um, that the government can lob whatever allegations it wants, but we have a jury of peers, and that's what makes America different than every other country. You know this. I'm sitting in Greece right now. I'm looking out here. That wouldn't happen in Greece. He'd sit in prison for the rest of his life if that's what the government wanted. And so that's what makes American system so great. On the civil side, I was too young, too stupid to say no. Nowadays I'd probably say no because it's not my area, right? But just starting out, I was probably practicing 6 months. We got a call from a an African woman. She was from Ghana, and she said, "I work at this nursing facility, and they're making me sleep on the ground and keep my clothes in my car, and they won't let me eat." So that doesn't sound right. Like let's talk, right? So I have her into the office. Turns out there was a facility that was having a lot of Ghanaians uh, come over here, work in these homes. They were not paying them even minimum wage. They were making them keep their stuff in the car. They were limiting the time they could eat. It was essentially modern day slavery. And we brought a collective action case on behalf of 90 Ghanaians. I sat at a Starbucks in Columbus, Ohio, and had them come in and fill out forms, trying to figure out who these people are. How can we help? And this company thumbed their nose, motion dismissed, motion dismissed. And we got one of the best judges it's ever. He was probably 90 when he got the case. He was appointed by Nixon and was still on the bench. And he wasn't having it, and he sided with us, and we got justice for each and every one of those Ghanaians that were being basically made to work in conditions that no one should be made to work. So those are my two proudest wins. Probably there's a thousand in between, but those are the two that stand out to me based on your question.
All right. Yeah, I could see why those are ones that are ingrained in your brain because they definitely are those kind of things that you think that would be a TV show episode or a movie made out of them because they're so impactful. The so I know that you're still actively practicing, and I know that you also have this other brain baby. So let's now that we know that we're in 2026 and you're still actively in the legal system, let's rewind to when this brain baby that Stacy is first culminating, I guess, in the back of your head. Like what year and what was it that kind of formed that idea?
So Stacy came about in a very interesting way. Okay, I'm going to take you back to take you forward, sort of thing, right? Um, I've been involved in crypto for a very long time, since maybe 2017. All right, are you in crypto at all?
Uh, no and yes. I
Okay.
was at one point. I currently am just more of an observer, as opposed to an investor at this moment.
Understood. Understood. Now's a good time to be an observer if you've seen the market. Uh,
Yeah.
but so when you're in crypto, it's a very interesting life that you live because if you're really into it, the people that you communicate with online are also in the same projects as you. You get on either Discord or Telegram, right? I basically live on Telegram. I hate Discord. For those that don't know, Telegram's a chat service. Each community will start their own Telegram, and it's basically a marketing ploy for that community. They can get the people in there all excited to drive the price of their token. But through that, you meet people, and because it's the same guys in there talking every day, right? And eventually, there's not any crypto to talk about. You start talking about sports and life and where are you from. When I say where I'm saying I'm from Kentucky. Everybody says bourbon and Kentucky Fried Chicken, right? So we talk about that, and we end up with this breakout group ran by a great guy, buddy of mine online. He goes by Dr. Evil of Crypto, right? He's one of these influencers. Um, there's 100 of us in there, and we become good friends. And through that, one of the guys in there, there was you fast forward to December 2024, and and the hot thing at that time is AI agents. I guess they're still hot, but at that time they were brand new. And there was a website where you could create an AI agent for free, and you got these extra bonus points or whatever. One of the guys in there creates AI sports AI analyst, and he just wanted the bonus points. And the description he put in there was AI analyst that looks at millions of data points to come up with the best sports picks of the day, right? Well, everyone in the group was like, "That's actually a pretty good idea. Why don't we just do it?" And the guy that made it is a young lawyer, right? So he's about 10 years younger than me, and he was scared to death that the bar association was going to come get him if he was involved at all with this crypto project that also did sports betting, right? He goes and talks to his firm. The firm says, "No, you can't do it," right? So he was just like, "Nope, let it die." Well, the community wouldn't let it die. We said it's too good of an idea. We're bored. Let's take it over and see what we can do with it. So very early January 2025, he's like, "Look, if you want it, I'll just give it to you guys." Gave us the keys and all that stuff. And at the time, Stacy was this hot brunette AI agent that was almost not safe for work most of the time, right? We built it up that way. Sex sells, and that's true. And we got a lot of eyeballs on us, as one may imagine, with an AI created supermodel um, that was given sports picks that were actually decent, right? Um, the community eventually, for whatever reason, um, four or five of us end up being in charge of the thing, and then ultimately they say, "Look, we need an actual person that's going to make the decisions." And the four of them, halfway against my will, said, "You're in charge," right? So about March 2025, I take the helm as I guess I'll be the one if there's a split decision and someone has to make a tough call, I'll be the one to make the call, right? So I become CEO, and at that time I use air quotes because we didn't have anything. It was just dudes running this AI agent, and very quickly we struck some deals and said, look, if we can do this, let's put a token on Pink Sale and see what the community appetites like. If we can raise enough money, we can actually hire quants. We can hire quants to build out our modeling if we can raise enough money on Pink Sale, which is like Kickstarter for crypto. And we put it on Pink Sale. We put a bunch of tokens on there. We said, we'll see. We've got 3 days to sell. Let's see how much we get. We'll go from there. We raised $300,000 in 12 hours, and had no idea what to do at that point, right? So we started sitting down. We struck deal with a company that was connected to quants. We have quants start building out modeling for us. And that took us all the way through the summer of 2025. And we started with baseball strikeouts. That's the only thing we had. And an unbelievable run through the summer of 2025. I know you're into sports gambling. I shit you not, that model that is not as good as our modeling now, but that model that summer went 72% on baseball strikeouts, which is one of the sharpest markets out there, right? And so that got eyeballs on us, and that's kind of the how STAICY started, got us to the summer of 2025, and that's when things got really serious. And I feel like I'm rambling, so I'll let you chime in, but that's kind of how we got started.
Well, no, I mean, answers, I don't consider any answers rambling. If you have an answer that's like, I mean, maybe it's like a 2 hour long ramble, maybe we'll cut you off. But no, that's kind of the information that we were looking for.
A
So I know
lawyer
that
and
we're
a
kind of,
microphone is a scary thing.
I will remember that on all my future bookings. I will have to ask them first, like, have you ever been part of the legal system? Are you a lawyer? All right, let's bracket this to a 30-minute max. So this is only
Yes.
a year ago. So now we're kind of closing in on catching up to today, where from that point of you becoming the air quote CEO and doing that crypto token raise, bringing in people, create the modeling and everything, kind of recap from that 72% strikeout hit rate to today of like what are the biggest changes, and where do you see things going?
So I always joke we had to go hire a real lawyer because this is not stuff that I do. So we had a lot of interest after that summer. People wanted to invest, friends, family. So we set up to where people could buy in, like truly invest in the company. Um, we hired some of the best developers that I've ever worked with. I've lived a weird life. I've dealt with developers in different businesses and stuff like that. Uh, we're not going to go back in time. We don't have to talk about the time I owned a dry cleaner in Southern Kentucky, right? But I've dealt with a lot of people in my life, and so we went and got the best developers that I've ever worked with. We got investors, true investors in buying shares of the company. Surrounded myself with a team of guys that they are professionals. These are guys that we don't have to scrape money off the company to survive. We all have professional jobs. Some are already minted and retired, right? They're coming out of retirement for this. So now we have a dashboard that's built, and I say this as someone that has gambled since I was probably 9. It's the best to me. It's the best sports gambling dashboard that we went and got the best data in the world and pay for it and raise that to the general public, um, so they can come consume it in their own way. We take that data and we have our devs set it up in dozens of different ways. How do you want to see the data? What's best for your betting stuff? And we raise that so people can look at it. Some people love our hit rate sheets, right? Like which players today's line, who's hit them in the last 10, stuff like that. Um, Today, we have every sport, every major sport, every major market in those sports. We're running these giant uh, algorithms as the day progresses, as news comes in. So we've gone from this little tiny startup of this large chested AI agent named STAICY to a company. We've changed our branding. We had to get rid of her. We have true investors. We have capital, big VCs calling us. They want in. It's kind of mind boggling when you think about it. If you know the synergy, right, the step by step of how we got here. But it's awesome. It's awesome. Every day we have our dashboard beta had 2,000 users in it. The community just gets stronger and stronger as time goes.
So now that we are, I know you. So you mentioned, well, we talked a little bit about before I hit record, and then you kind of mentioned it briefly being in Greece. So now you're over there in Europe for sports betting, sports gambling, iGaming industry conference stuff. So man, that's kind of such an interesting story of how the 5, 6 year old that wanted to defend themselves and knew about legal kind of led to this where I guess there's a question I always finish with, but before I get to that, I'm still curious on how long do you think that you can do both active practicing and CEO of STAICY, and or is there already a plan in place to I don't know if the word is like trade away one of those two things, or is it like, hey, I've been able to juggle both so far up to this point. This is something I think I can do, or I can kind of what is the mindset about running both of those?
Sure, sure. I keep telling myself, it's like every week, it's like it's got to get easier from here, right? Like there's only so many times you can work till 3 a.m. every night, right? Um,
And you
I
realize that it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. It just gets,
It's get harder.
more money, more problems. Someone said that. Some wise man said that, right?
Yeah.
So as investors come in, you owe this duty to investors, and I do. I work till 2, 3 a.m. Every night right now. And to answer your question, you love what you do, and I love both of these jobs. What will happen is as STAICY grows and it needs more of my time, I will quit taking legal cases that I don't want to take. If I will only take the ones that I actually want, that interest me. None of the day to day, you know, small stuff, so to speak. I want to help more 90 Ghanaians, people like that, people facing life in prison. I won't be in traffic court anymore, right? STAICY, like I said, we have a great team. STAICY won't need me on the day to day. I'm gonna make myself be around because I love it. But it is a machine, man. We have a good team, a good dashboard, the devs. Um, I'm kind of the idea guy and the grease on the wheels at this point. And I love our community, but I could never see myself totally giving up law. But I could see myself devoting most of my time to STAICY.
I think it also helps the fact that with how it works on you taking cases or not taking cases is that I mean, I know when you like run your own company in general, you essentially are in control of your own hours, but also the uniqueness of like it's not there's so much opportunity for delegation on the legal side where it's like this is a case that I personally do not want to put my time into, so I'm going to delegate this to somebody else, at the firm or what have you. So it kind of makes it I feel like that's a scenario that's super easy to like, hey, if I don't have time, I don't have time. But oh, actually, this something's really interesting, and maybe it's not going to take an insane amount of my time. This is a open shut, easy dub for me.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Now that we've kind of culminated the story to catching up to present time here, the question I always like wrapping these episodes up with is kind of going back on everything we just covered from that age 6 defending yourself in your own family court to now kind of dipping your hands in two different cookie jars. Why did I say cookie
Cookie
pots?
jars, honey pots,
You know what
cookie
I
jars.
meant.
I
Cookie
had you. I
pots.
had you. You brought it up. I was there. I was with you.
If you didn't say anything, I would have brought it up. I Anyway, so the thing we talk about is butterfly effect. There's a lot of things that were inside of your control and outside of your control, that led just a series of events that led you to where you are today. So if we were to look back, starting at the age 6 and looking all the way now to 2026, and what all of the cookie jars that you have your hands dipped into, what is that number one butterfly effect, whether it was inside of your control or not, that it was the main catalyst to the person that we're talking to today?
Easy answer. Easy answer. I have a very interesting one. So I was in college, okay, and UK, University of Kentucky, they had a thing where if you're a student, you go get on their basically like a monster.com, but for students, right? It's if you need a job, you go there. Employers come hire from that student pool, and UK gives them some kickback. I don't know what the deal is, but that was the deal. So this was freshman year of college. I just got done sophomore year of college. I just got done lobbying, just got done running that campaign. Needed another job, right? So I go on there and I sign up, and I get hired by this company. I can't even remember the name. I think it's called Fortune 500 Marketing is the name of the firm, right? I get hired and I go in for training. They call me day one. They say come in for training day two. That should have been my first red flag. I go in for training. There wasn't even an interview. They're like, "This is how you're going to go." I did a full day of training there, and I remember I was young and stupid. I looked around and said, This is like a pyramid scheme, right?" And I got a stern talking to. We don't use those terms here, but it was a pyramid. It was a pyramid scheme company. And that night, I went home after first day of training. I was supposed to go back day two of training, and that night I got a call from them, and I picked it up and I said hello, and they said, "Yeah, we actually got your background check today, and we're not going to be able to hire you, so don't show up tomorrow." So my background check, I'm about as clean as it gets. And they said, "Well, it's all these speeding tickets, and it's like they're all dismissed. What are you talking about? My uncle's a lawyer. Like I told you, they're all dismissed." They didn't like the fact that I had called it a pyramid scheme, right? So they called me and they fired me. And while I'm talking to this person on the phone saying, "Your background check came back so bad we can't possibly hire you," I got a call coming through. And I didn't recognize the number. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And I hung up. I was probably half drunk. And I pick up the other line, and it's John's mother, the quadriplegic lawyer I told you about. It's his mother. He had a posting on that same website, and she said, "Are you still available to be hired?" And I said, "Matter of fact, I am. As of 10 seconds ago, I'm able to be hired." If she'd have called a minute earlier, or if they would have never called me, I would have never got that job with John. That job with John was the most instrumental change in my life because not only did I get in with a practicing lawyer, he's one of the kindest people I've ever met. But like I said, I'm still law partners with his brother. That's my whole life in law starts with John. And had they not fired me for too many dismissed traffic tickets and calling it a pyramid scheme, none of that would have happened. And that is the one reason I believe in fate, because I was literally on the phone with him, and that changed everything.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's I guess I'm trying to figure out what's the root lesson from that, and I feel like it's just being honest with yourself and calling it what it is. So if you notice that something is fishy, like it's probably fishy, and then you being completely blunt with them led to all of that, which of course led to where you are today. So that's a very good. That's like one of the most extensive stories that we've gotten for that last question, that butterfly effect one. But no, it makes perfect sense to why that's yours. But yeah, Ryan, we've culminated the entire story up to now. We learned how you got here. I do appreciate you hopping on here and sharing your story with us. If anybody watching or listening wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Text me. Text me. It's 502-819-2883. Just text me. I'm a human. Hit me up.
I like. I mean, we have. I guess now in 2026, we have to state like if we're human or not at this point,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with all of us working in AI now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Everybody's so scared to reach out, Travis. Everybody wants to email me and set up Zooms and stuff like that.
yeah.
Just text me, man. We're good.
All right. Well, you guys know his number now. Shoot him a text if you want to reach out to him. If you are watching this on YouTube, we also have his name spelled out below his face. So if you want to hit him up on LinkedIn, you can also connect with him there. But again, thanks for hopping on here, tuning in. Thanks for you sharing your story with us. And if you guys enjoyed this, there's a lot of episodes before this. There'll be a lot of episodes that come after. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Thanks again.
Thanks, Travis.